Show number 4. Hey, I just want to say thank you to every person under the sound of my voice for all your comments, all your interactions, your likes, your dislikes. You know what I mean? That is truly what makes the world go round. Everyone individually on our own experience, learning, growing, experiencing, and communicating life in a respectful, high level way. And we can all win. You know what I'm saying? So, welcome back to the Umbrella Entertainment Radio channel. I am your faithful host, 1T.R.E, and this is the 1T.R.E Radio Show. So, picking up from our third episode, you know what I mean? We're building, right? We've been building on these pillars. You know what I mean? These pillars I've been presenting each episode, man, have truly been enlightening. Truly been presenting aspects of modern traditional relationships in a new way. You know what I mean? New conversations are being had now. You know what I'm saying? New aspects are being looked into. You know what I mean? New talking points are now being developed. You know what I mean? Now we can move past those old talking points of, oh man, she's acting like a hoe. Or, oh man, I'm a man, so I got the right to go out here and have sex and cheat on my woman and all of that stuff. And you know what I mean? If she herself doesn't like it, you know what I mean, then she's not being the woman she should be. And then the woman on that woman's side thinking like, well, if I don't have a man, if he's not paying everything and doing everything and not making sure I got my nails and I can do frivolous things in life, then you are not a real man. You know what I mean? Those elements, starting with the element the vanity of man, you know what I mean? Just me talking directly to men and looking at life experience, right? And then moving on to the origin stories of how, like, a lot of those origin stories that may or may not be based on religious aspects, you know, I'm just putting that out there, you know what I mean? Those origin stories, you know what I mean, kind of can skew your aspect of life and how that goes into your relationships. And then even building on that out of the origin stories, you know what I mean, we went into education, you know what I mean, and then we went into the aspect of bonding, you know what I mean, and looking at all these pillars, you know what I mean, and these pillars, I want to now bring into a situation where we just looking at, okay, how all those things have brought us now to the current situation we are, and what are we definitely going to do to get out of it? You know what I mean? Let's just not look at the problem. How are we now going to move on in a free-flowing way that life is, and now go around, go through these obstacles that have presented us to where we are. And then through each of these elements, you know, I pointed to different solutions, different ways, different aspects of how we can really achieve better results working together as one another. But I really think, you know what I mean, a lot of the concepts, like that American concept of marriage, to the point that we're like, you got to pay to leave somebody. I mean, let's get rid of that. You know what I mean? Let's just throw that out of the window. Why do I have to pay to leave you? Why do you have to now, if you come into a situation where I have been blessed in my life to have a bunch of financial resources, why now, because you come in my life for 3 years and now you leave, why are you entitled to not only my children, if we have children together, but some of my financial resources? So just the whole law and how family court goes and how child support goes and all of those things, you know what I mean? We as a people should just not even, you know what I mean? We should not participate in systems that are inducive to a true family upbringing, if you will, or just even a true humanity. A lot of times, you know what I mean, they leave us choosing, and when I say they, I mean the institutions that govern the life, the physical life that we all live in. When I say they, you know what I mean, a lot of times, you know what I mean, if we just don't participate in that, then we can get out of that ideal of choosing the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean? I've heard young ladies say in their engagement with men, and they're going through the child support process, to where, like, they would rather have the man locked up and not seeing his offspring simply because the man didn't pay a sum of money that was really insignificant. You know what I mean? A lot of times these fees, speaking from a general sense and speaking from people who are not excessively rich on the earth, you know what I mean? People that are just normal people making a regular living, that are working a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? A lot of times, just say if you're receiving $500, yes, to each individual that may mean different things, but in the big scheme of things, $500 is not a very significant sum of money. You know what I mean? With inflation and the things that are going on and how things are expensive nowadays, you know what I mean? $500 really, yeah, it can make a payment, but after that, you still got to come up. But my point is, some people feel like it's more significant to have someone put behind bars in a system that they know is a corrupt system just to spite someone, and to take part in that system just to spite someone, instead of now using your higher evolved sense to say, okay, you may not have paid this amount of money, but I still want you to be a decent person and be a part of our offspring's life and still be a valid member of society, to like, okay, I call you a man, but I'm a woman, and I have the peace of God in me. Let me pour into you for the sake of our offspring and for the sake of myself, because I don't want to live in a traumatic state. But if that's not, you know what I mean, I say embedded in you as a man or a woman, then how can you now portray that? Yeah, it's sad, but how can you portray something that you don't have instilled in you from a very, very early age? So standing on that statement, standing on that notion, we're gonna end it out with the heart of everything, you know, the heart of it all, or what the heart of it all is supposed to be. LOVE. That word that we use in our society, and you know, and like I said, this show is called True Revolutionary Evolutionary Thought Processes. And I was having a conversation with a very close friend of mine the other day about the word love, and the word love, I think from a very young age, like I said, man, we all get our own perception of what that is, right? But I can't really put a profound definition on love in a way to where, like, this is one thing. But how I define love is the emotion that encompasses all emotions. You know what I mean? To the point where I've heard people say that love is not supposed to hurt. But in my experience of love and dealing with the individuals on this earth, dealing with humanity, and the way I perceive humanity, when you truly love someone, you understand that you're gonna experience every emotion as you continue to grow with that person, or you and that person are aligned in your journey through life. And that person can be your mother, father, sister, brother. It can be a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife. But you're gonna experience every emotion in that process of love. Love is a process to me. Love isn't something that we've been taught to just automatically give. And that's where I want to now pick up again from that conversation I said I was having with a very, very close friend of mine. I was talking to a very close friend of mine, and she pointed out to me, as I was just stating, that for her, love is a process, and that if she doesn't know anybody for a very long time, then she definitely cannot love someone. And that was a statement that, you know what I mean, I definitely can agree with. Living in this modern world that we live in, you know what I mean, I just have never been conducive of a person that believed in this love at first sight. And so in our discussion, it went deep, as we sometimes do. Well, me and my best friend, it sometimes went deep. And in that deep discussion, we touched upon aspects of what love is and how that love can be scary. And it brought me to a time when I was a young man, and when I was dating, and it was instilled in me as a young man dating, that, you know what I mean, that word I love you, you don't use that word unless you really, really meant it with a young lady. You know what I mean? When you were courting a young lady, or you was in a relationship with a young lady, you don't use that word unless you really meant it. And so you refrained from using that word, and the first person to use that word was almost considered to be the most vulnerable person now in the relationship, and now you used it first. So now it's like you said it, and you were looked at almost kind of like in a I guess weaker sense. I mean, paraphrasing here, just thinking back. But if you came along in my generation, I'm sure you probably get the gist of what I'm saying there. So it was always like a thing on, like, for me as a man, letting the woman be the one to say that first. You not being the man to show your vulnerabilities or putting yourself out there like that to say I love you. And then when you do say I love you, it was taught to mean that I truly care for you, almost to a fact where, like, it's you and I. I'm putting you in a solo spot in my life, to like I'm putting you above other women. So saying that word almost, like I said, presented a sort of ownership. So you as a man, like I said, as a conqueror, you didn't want to have that sort of ownership over you. And then for a woman, it presented, I guess, a sort of ownership on her level, meaning that if I say this to you and you receive it and you repeat it back to me, you're now almost in an unwritten rule type of way. You're committing yourself to me. And we spoke on that, and me and my friend, we spoke on that concept of love and how, so that word "I love you" almost had a kind of fearful connotation to it, almost, that was subconsciously driven into the mind of men and men like me. Um, and so, like I said, that word was almost kind of a taboo. You know what I mean? And then as I started progressing my thoughts, and our conversation with my friend got deeper, we went into this aspect, like touching on her belief of you having to know someone real well in order to love them. And I touched on the aspect of how in certain traditional views, those traditional views are often affected by religious views. There's a belief that there's an individual that did come about in this world to save the world, and these people, they devote a love to that individual. That individual, I'm sure you heard of that individual. The initials by JC. Those initials, you know what I mean, denote to a person that once resided upon this earth thousands of years ago. And when that person resided upon this earth, that person was now responsible for people now being delivered into a heavenly place after they leave their physical form. That person, that JC, actually is the reason he died, so that you and I is the perception, is the belief behind that traditional belief that that person lived, and because that person lived, he died so that you and I have the ability to live in a heavenly afterlife. And so I get to that point to say that that person who has never been seen, never been witnessed before, is loved by many. You know what I mean? That person is a part of one of those origin stories that we talked about at the beginning as being one of the elements that led us to having adverse relationships with one another, because of those roles that have been programmed in our head and those ideas that have been programmed in our head. So that origin story that paints a woman to be the one that brought evil into the world is part of that same origin story that paint this JC character to be the savior. And that person is truly loved. And that person is a man, of course, is described as a man. And that man, like I said, has saved the world from the horror that the woman brought into the world. So that person, that JC person, this person who, like I said, a lot of people believe in him. A lot of people believe in that connotation of that person. There's a lot of people who don't believe in that connotation. But because there are multitudes of people that do, I think subconsciously in your mind, like I say, that JC character had saved the world, a world that was sent into chaos because of a woman, is loved and no one ever saw him. So we can love that person, and if that person can be loved without being seen, then the concept of love now begins to be a little bit tumultuous to me. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I know how I define it, as I define it at the beginning of the show here. But when I'm looking out into the world now, in this present modern day as relations go on, the word "I love you" simply has become now just a simple greeting almost. It's almost like a simple handshake, like "I love you," meaning that you okay, you all right. It's not a deeply embedded sense of self because, like I said, from a book I read a passage one time, and the passage says that this entity that we all recognize as God, it calls us not only to love ourselves, but to love our brethren and our sisters as the same way we will love ourselves. And to me, that's a higher, more involved sense of love that I think that, you know what I mean, nobody, I would care not to say that word nobody. I don't believe in absolutes like nobody, nothing, never. So I say that word mistakenly. I have never witnessed, and it's not by belief that there are very many people, and there's a very small percentage of people I believe that are living today that really love their sister or brother as they love themselves. And then at the point of it, like I said, when we talk about love, how many people are sitting down really loving themselves, and how many people are sitting down really just analyzing what it is to spend time with yourself and cultivate yourself and love all of the elements that make up you. So like I say, here at True Revolutionary Evolutionary Thought Project, we break down love and we look at love in a scientific way. And we simply say to ourselves, okay, love is the concept of being able to go through this earth with an individual and experience all of those emotions, from sadness, guilt, withdrawal, happiness, joy, depression, and being able to go through all those aspects of life in a non-judgmental way, but just knowing that on your individual journey, I'm going to see this, and on my individual journey, I'm going to portray these things. And now, you know what I mean, we, like I say, it's just our attraction to one another that allows us now to accept that and know that it's that acceptance of that that shows that other person love. The ability for you now to come out of yourself and tell someone, or to do anything for someone, or to tell someone how great they are, to pour into somebody, just your ability to do that is you showing love. And on the other end, that person should understand that you doing that is a show of love. And that reciprocation of love and that reciprocity can just create a better energy and a bigger energy, and we keep that flowing. The moment we want to break that bond and we want to go adverse to that and we want to not build up, we want to build down, we want to break down, then we start to now get out of that arena of love. So ultimately my point is, let's just get back to loving ourselves. And then through loving ourselves, we can definitely love others. It's a reciprocity in it. Like I said, it's an in and out thing. And a lot of people feel like they can skip the step of loving themselves and just skip right into loving someone else, and knowing that they have a lot of unsettled trauma and things going on in their life. Communication is key. And communication is going to definitely take us a long way in this whole interaction with one another as human beings. Like I said, you know what I mean, this episode is designated for the closing of the topic between men and women and that traditional relationship bond that we have. But I know the seed that I planted in this conversation, all the way from episode 1 to right now, our 5th episode. I mean, it's just a great thing to open up these new conversations, these new talking points. You know what I mean? To see that the world is changing, to see that the world is evolving around us, and that we as man and woman got to understand that as the world evolves, we definitely need to evolve our strategies and our structures. You know what I mean? No longer, you know what I mean, do we have that 50s lifestyle to where like a man can go out and there's a one decent income, even in a scenario where somebody's making $100,000 a year. If you're living in an economy in a rural city, or any of those trappings today that may involve a city where we're considered modern, like let's say Los Angeles or Phoenix, you know what I mean? Let's say a city like Las Vegas, you know what I mean? A city like Atlanta, Georgia, you know what I mean? A city like that, New York City, you know what I mean? A lot of times these cities are becoming so expensive to live in that, you know what I mean, if we're not practicing group economics and truly loving each other and getting out of these roles that have been designated for us to play that keep us apart, you know what I mean, we're going to find ourselves in a detriment. So like I say, these conversations are built on elements that I believe culminate into a larger conversation that says, you know what I mean, let's look at the relationships between us, and let's look at these aspects and these concepts, these pillars that I've laid out, all the way from show number 1 to show number 5. And like I said, hopefully we can make some repairs. We can turn some corners, and we can learn through this journey to love each other better. Hey, this is the close of another episode of the 1T.R.E radio show. Thank you for all tuning in to YouTube and the Umbrella Entertainment radio channel. This is the close, and I'll see you next time.